Master's attitude towards women. Women are, all of them, the veritable images of Shakti. In north-west India, the bride holds a knife in her hand at the time of marriage. In Bengal, in Nutcutter, the meaning is that the bridegroom, with the help of the bride, who is the embodiment of the divine power, will sever the bondage of illusion. This is the heroic attitude. I never worship the Divine Mother that way. My attitude toward her is that of a child toward its mother. The bride is the very embodiment of Shakti. Haven't you noticed at the marriage ceremony how the groom sits behind like an idiot, but the bride, she is so bold? His love for Narendra. After attaining God, one forgets his external splendor, the glories of his creation. One does not think of God's glories after one has seen him. The devotee, once immersed in God's bliss, does not calculate any more about outer things. When I see Narendra, I don't need to ask him, "What's your name? Where do you live?" Where is the time for such questions? Once a man asked Hanuman which day of the fortnight it was. "Brother," said Hanuman, "I don't know anything of the day of the week or the fortnight or the position of the stars. I think of Rama alone." October 16, 1882. It was Monday, a few days before the Durga Puja, the festival of the Divine Mother. Sri Ramakrishna was in a very happy state of mind, for Narendra was with him. Narendra had brought 2 or 3 young members of the Brahmo Samaj to the temple garden. Besides these, Rakhal, Ramlal, Hazra and M were with the master. Narendra had his midday meal with Sri Ramakrishna. Afterwards, a temporary bed was made on the floor of the master's room so that the disciples might rest a while. A mat was spread, over which was placed a quilt covered with a white sheet. A few cushions and pillows completed the simple bed. Like a child, the master sat near Narendranath on the bed. He talked with the devotees in great delight. With a radiant smile lighting his face and his eyes fixed on Narendra, he was giving them various spiritual teachings, interspersing these with incidents from his own life. "Master, after I had experienced Samadhi, my mind craved intensely to hear only about God. I would always search for places where they were reciting or explaining the sacred books, such as the Bhagavad, the Mahabharata and the Adhyatma Ramayana. I used to go to Krishna Kishore to hear him read the Adhyatma Ramayana." Krishna Kishore's faith. What tremendous faith Krishna Kishore had! Once while at Vrindavan, he felt thirsty and went to a well. Near it he saw a man standing. On being asked to draw a little water for him, the man said, "I belong to a low caste, sir. You are a Brahmin. How can I draw water for you?" Krishna Kishore said, "Take the name of Shiva. By repeating his holy name, you will make yourself pure." The low caste man did as he was told, and Krishna Kishore, orthodox Brahmin that he was, drank that water. What tremendous faith! Once a holy man came to the bank of the Ganges and lived near the bathing ghat at Ariyataha, not far from Dakshineshwar. We thought of paying him a visit. I said to Haladhari, "Krishna Kishore and I are going to see a holy man. Will you come with us?" Haladhari replied, "What is the use of seeing a mere human body which is no better than a cage of clay?" Haladhari was a student of the Gita and the Vedanta philosophy, and therefore referred to the holy man as a mere cage of clay. I repeated this to Krishna Kishore. With great anger he said, "How impudent of Haladhari to make such a remark! How can he ridicule as a cage of clay the body of a man who constantly thinks of God, who meditates on Rama and has renounced all for the sake of the Lord? Doesn't he know that such a man is the embodiment of spirit?" He was so upset by Haladhari's remarks that he would turn his face away from him whenever he met him in the temple garden and stopped speaking to him. Once Krishna Kishore asked me, "Why have you cast off the sacred thread?" In those days of God vision, I felt as if I were passing through the great storm of Ashwin, and everything had blown away from me. No trace of my old self was left. I lost all consciousness of the world. I could hardly keep my cloth on my body. Not to speak of the sacred thread, I said to Krishna Kishore, "Aha, you will understand if you ever happen to be as intoxicated with God as I was." And it actually came to pass. He too passed through a God-intoxicated state when he would repeat only the word Om and shut himself up alone in his room. His relatives thought he was actually mad and called in a physician. Ram Kaviraj of Natgore came to see him. Krishna Kishore said to the physician, Cure me, sir, of my malady, if you please, but not of my Om. All laugh. One day I went to see him and found him in a pensive mood. When I asked him about it, he said the tax collector was here. He threatened to dispose of my brass pots, my cups, and my few utensils if I didn't pay the tax. So I am worried, I said. But why should you worry about it? Let him take away your pots and pans. Let him arrest your body even. How will that affect you? For your nature is that of Kha. Narendra and the others laugh. He used to say to me that he was the spirit, all-pervading as the sky. He had got that idea from the Adhyatma Ramayana. I used to tease him now and then, addressing him as Kha. Therefore I said to him that day with a smile, You are Kha, taxes cannot move you. Master's outspokenness. In that state of God intoxication, I used to speak out my mind to all. I was no respecter of persons, even to men of position I was not afraid to speak the truth. One day Jatindra came to the garden of Jadu Malik. I was there too. I asked him, What is the duty of man? Isn't it our duty to think of God? Jatindra replied, We are worldly people. How is it possible for us to achieve liberation? Even King Yudhishthir had to have a vision of hell. This made me very angry. I said to him, What sort of man are you? Of all the incidents of Yudhishthir's life, you remember only his seeing hell? You don't remember his truthfulness, his forbearance, his patience, his discrimination, his dispassion, his devotion to God? I was about to say many more things when Ritesh stopped my mouth. After a little while, Jitendra left the place, saying he had some other business to attend to. Many days later, I went with Captain to see Raja Saurendra Tagore. As soon as I met him, I said, I cannot address you as Raja or by any such title, for I should be telling a lie. He talked to me a few minutes, but even so our conversation was interrupted by the frequent visits of Europeans and others. A man of Rajasic temperament, Saurendra was naturally busy with many things. Jatindra, his eldest brother, had been told of my coming, but he sent word that he had a pain in his throat and could not go out. One day, in that state of divine intoxication, I went to the bathing ghat on the Ganges at Barangur. There I saw Jaya Mukherjee repeating the name of God, but his mind was on something else. I went up and slapped him twice on the cheeks. At one time, Rani Rasmani was staying in the temple garden. She came to the shrine of the Divine Mother, as she frequently did when I worshipped Kali, and asked me to sing a song or two. On this occasion, while I was singing, I noticed she was sorting the flowers for worship absent-mindedly. At once I slapped her on the cheeks. She became quite embarrassed and sat there with folded hands. Alarmed at this state of mind myself, I said to my cousin Haladhari, Just see my nature, how can I get rid of it? After praying to the Divine Mother for some time with great yearning, I was able to shake off this habit, his anguish at worldly talk. When one gets into such a state of mind, one does not enjoy any conversation but that about God. I used to weep when I heard people talk about worldly matters. When I accompanied Mathur Babu on a pilgrimage, we spent a few days in Banaras at Raja Babu's house. One day I was seated in the drawing room with Mathur Babu, Raja Babu and others. Hearing them talk about various worldly things such as their business losses and so forth, I wept bitterly and said to the Divine Mother, Mother, where have you brought me? I was much better off in a temple garden at Dakshineshwar. Here I am in a place where I must bear about women and gold, but at Dakshineshwar I could avoid it. A master asked the devotees, especially Narendra, to rest a while, and he himself lay down on the smaller couch.